In this video, I want to share some of the environments Kody has experienced, how they've shaped him, and how they continue to shape his world. Most of these weren't carefully planned. They came from gut feelings, instincts, or intuition, sometimes initiated by my wife, sometimes by me. But every decision was one we compromised on and agreed upon, even when one of us had reservations. When I look back, those choices were us protecting Kody as best as we could. Small shifts made to keep him moving in the right direction. And it reminded me of something I read from a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. If a plane leaves Sydney for London and drifts just 2 degrees off course at first, you'd barely notice. But stay on that path long enough and you might not end up in London. You arrive at a completely different destination. I find our lives work the same way. Sometimes we set a destination or outcome and we're able to draw a straight line and reach it. Other times, setbacks and detours means it takes a lot longer, with multiple corrections before we finally arrive. And then there are the times we reach a destination and ask ourselves, how did I get here? Sadly, those unexpected arrivals are often the ones that feel the most negative or painful. We noticed this truth early on with Kody in the classroom. He wasn't disruptive or difficult. He was just quietly disappearing into the background. At first glance, it might not have seemed like much, but I knew where that small drift could lead: to low self-esteem, loss of confidence, even bullying. That's when we made one of our biggest environment corrections. We tried a couple of schools, but the result was always the same. At pickup, you could see the relief on his face, almost as if he was finally able to breathe again. For me, this brought back memories of children I'd seen at school who were bullied. Kids sitting alone at lunch, timid, avoiding eye contact. I found myself asking, is this what my son is going to become? I pictured him as a teenager, head down, shoulders slumped, weighed down by a lack of confidence and self-esteem. I didn't want that for his future. So we made a choice, the choice to homeschool, with the idea of revisiting school later when he was older. He's been homeschooled ever since. And looking back, it's the best decision we made for him in this environment. Now, at first, we tried to replicate a standard classroom with subjects and set routines. But it quickly became clear he couldn't sustain that, not that kind of curriculum. Even with third-person tutors, it wasn't working. His learning needed to be aligned with his cognitive development, set at a pace that supported him as he grew. And that is still true today. Because of this, Kody has been able to progress at his pace without constant negative comparisons. He reads, communicates through text and speech devices, and even pursues his own interests like science and biology. Through YouTube videos, he discovers himself. The way I see it, his educational development may never look the same as that of a typical neurotypical child, but he's on his own path, one with minimal negative baggage due to the supportive environment in which his learning is presented. When I think about the path we chose, I can't help but wonder what would have happened if we hadn't. If we had kept him in school, pushing him to fit into an environment that clearly wasn't built for him. I believe the outcome could have been very different. Homeschooling didn't just change how he learned, it changed how he sees himself. It's keeping his confidence alive, it's allowing his self-esteem to grow in its own time, and it's giving him the ability to discover who he is without being broken down by who he's not. Homeschooling was our first big course correction, and it set Kody on a path where his confidence could grow. But the environment outside the home with other kids brought a new challenge. Because no matter how much we protect our children, sooner or later they look for connection. And that's where I began to notice another kind of drift. Kody struggled to step into the circle of play, as I call it. There was a pattern here. He'd move towards the kids and then just stop short, as if an invisible barrier kept him from stepping in. It was like he was waiting to be invited, but the invitation never came. At parks, community halls, anywhere children played together, it was always the same. Kody following at a safe distance, circling the group, but never quite inside it. Watching this again and again was heartbreaking. All I could see at the time was isolation and no meaningful relationships for him. So I made myself part of the play. I became the bridge. I'd step in alongside Kody, starting games I knew he'd enjoyed, like tag, hide and seek, and I'd invite other kids to join in. More often than not, they welcomed it. And just like that, Kody was in the circle, running and hiding with them. That became my way of being in this environment. It's a strategy I still use today, especially in new environments. And over time, I've seen the change. In familiar settings, Kody now joins in more naturally. And in sports like soccer and judo, he's even begun initiating contact with kids he's played with before. Now, on reflection, I believe that being the fun adult, the one who bridged that invisible barrier, gave Kody permission to step into the group. And maybe, just maybe, it also gave the other kids permission to accept him for who he is. There are still challenges due to his limited speech. However, seeing him inside the circle, playing with other kids, is a win for all of us. Now, I'll admit, I don't always feel like joining in the games, but I see it this way. If a father can sit at a tea party with his young daughter, sipping pretend tea with makeup on his face, then me running around playing games with my son really isn't so bad. Becoming the bridge for Kody in play was one way to correct the deviation that may have led him to feeling left out and isolated. But I realised something else. The environments we create inside the home matter just as much as the ones outside. Now, if play was where he searched for belonging, then home was where he needed to feel safe enough to grow. And that brought us to the role of expectation. How high to set them and how to make sure they helped rather than hindered his journey. At home, we decided Kody should develop at his own pace. There was an inner knowing that as he matured, there were going to be opportunities for us to guide and assist him in his growth. We knew, and we still know, that his cognitive processing is different. He requires a calmer, more understanding environment. We weren't looking for further conflict at home. There are enough daily challenges to test the bond between parent and child. I came to see it like a young tree, each stage of its growth needing time to adjust to the environment around it. But if the environment is too harsh, a limb can bend or snap. Some of these will repair, but it leaves scars, and those scars can create resistance that carries into the future. Children are no different. That's why our expectations were always set in line with his age and his cognitive ability, even if they were lower than what others thought they should be. By doing this, Kody has been able to grow with a stronger foundation of self-esteem and confidence. And you can see it now in the way he meets challenges and regulates in new environments. For me, this way of thinking comes from my military background. You don't throw someone into an unknown environment and just hope they succeed. You prepare them physically, mentally, and supply them with the right tools so they have the best odds on their side. That's how I see expectations with Kody. As a family, my wife and I don't lower his potential. We simply adjust our thinking, giving him time and preparing him to get there in his own way. Now, as a closing reflection, looking back, I see each of these for us were vital corrections to these environments. Homeschooling, when we could see school diminishing his self-esteem. Bridging play, so he wasn't left outside the group. And adjusting expectations at home so his confidence could develop. Each environment mattered. Each adjustment keeping him on track and supporting him as he grows into himself with self-esteem, resilience, and the chance to confidently navigate life's twists and turns. If this story resonated, feel free to share your own experiences in the comments. And if you haven't yet, I'd love for you to subscribe and join us for more stories, insights, and small wins.